Hello, we've just finished with Dreamtime, Reclaiming Lilith, and I'm really inspired at the unfolding of my relationship with Eros, and it really drives home the point how much healing occurs in community. The first time I've really experienced this was 2 months ago in Quantum Womb Space when we were attending to our inner mothers and inner children, inner child within us. And this time it is to attend to our relationship with our sexuality. And this was inspired literally the day after I landed back in Melbourne from Hawaii. And when I sat in meditation, very quickly Mary Magdalene came and shared this vision of putting together a very short series, a short experience of a like it isn't meant to be a long extended one, but instead just a shorter experience of embodying or tending to these parts of us that maybe don't get as much attention as the other parts. So I followed that call, and today in Dreamtime, it led me back full circle into what inspired the experience, which was about a month ago in the retreat I was at in Avalon with Celeste and Shamir. When Shamir brought me and Celeste to the White Springs in Glastonbury, I remember standing outside the springs as Shamir was giving us guidance as to our progression and our journey inside of the springs, and I was just feeling massive resistance in my body because from the outside of the springs, the energy of wildness and chaos and the dark, it was dark, and like the combination of all of that felt very intimidating to me. And what I later realized was that this energy felt very, very powerful, and when I am met with this much power, the part of me that doesn't remember my power comes forth, and it's like a reiteration of the powerlessness that I've bought into about myself and my stories, and how I felt very small and also helpless when met with so much intensity, which was literally the experience or the embodiment of the White Springs. Like from the outside, we could see already like people yelling, people chanting, people releasing, people just cathartic. People were nude, and it was just so wild for my, at that time, good girl archetype. So even though I went in, I couldn't drop in completely, and I just refused to enter the springs that day. And then about half an hour later, as we were walking up the tour, and I may have already mentioned this in one of the previous videos, when we were walking up the tour, I met with Lilith inside of me. I met with the really the parts that have come undone, the parts that are messy, the parts that it's not pretty, and after a bit of courage and also support from Celeste and Shamia, I was just fully unleashing all of the trapped energies inside of me, and it didn't click at that time, but today I realized that was me coming face to face with Lilith inside of myself, that repressed energy within myself, and also the energy that is untamed and wild and untouched by, you know, just unkempt and not put together, untouched by conditioning and what we should be like. So today, when in the midst of facilitating the Dreamtime experience, it was complete surrender to the process. It was one of the first times I didn't really plan a flow or a sequence of events, because I was thinking, if the theme is to reclaim Lilith, Lilith is messy, and to be organized and to be organized and to also put together as I usually am. Like whenever I'm facilitating breath work, I always have my notes or my Word document open to remind me of the sequence that was pre-planned. And just coming into the recognition that when I throw caution to the wind, I really allow for myself to come fully into beingness, into presence with the soul of the class, with the spirits of the participants, so that it really becomes a co-creation. And it was extra extra whatever this is, extra of that, because usually I use I bounce off the energies from the clients, participants are emitting through the videos. So like when I witness their bodies, when I witness how they respond, it co-creates into what I transmit. And also if I were to make impromptu, spontaneous edits to the sequence. But today, because I requested for everyone's videos to be turned off, just because I wanted to offer the permission to be wildly Lilith or wildly Cernunnos, the Celtic sex god, Lord of the Fairies, it was an option to be clothless today. And because I didn't have the bodies in which I could bounce off, at least mentally, that's what I think I'm doing. It really required for me to fully trust the guidance that's coming through. And it did feel like the entire experience was fully channeled, which I miss so much, because I remember feeling this way every single time I was facilitating a yoga class. It feels like it's me and not me. And I remember when I did a body map imagery of my body, what came through was how my throat felt. The throat chakra area felt like a reservoir of wisdom unspoken by my ancestors, or just wisdom that has been suppressed. And so that's what came through. But maybe it could be just things that I have picked up on as I, unconsciously, and it just felt like the right time to bring that across. So today's experience felt like that. And when the image of the White Springs came, I was so delighted to facilitate, to guide my journey into the White Springs. Because after that meeting of Lilith, or rather maybe the reclamation of Lilith within myself, the next day I felt very, very compelled to return to the White Springs and to do what I didn't do the day before. And I did. And it felt so good. It felt so freeing and liberating to not be overpowered, overwhelmed by the darkness, by wildness, by chaos, but rather to be lovingly embraced. And that's when I realized how sweet darkness can really be. So very happy with however this transpired, like the whole sequence of events, and also how immediately after Avalon, I had a few days of rest and integration in Melbourne. And while Avalon felt like gentle but piercing truth, after that few days of integration, I flew off to Hawaii, and Hawaii felt like fierce truth that just demands the full being of me to be in integrity, which is scary as hell. But right after that, and making adjustments and shifts in my life, in my relationship, coming back to Melbourne, and then the next day, this sacred sensuality, this 12-day container came through. So after these 12 days, I have no idea where my journey with Eros is going to, how it's going to take shape or form, but it does feel like this is a beginning of something really magical, and I'm really curious and excited to witness this.